Hi, everyone. So I'm going to be talking about the art and science of personalization today. So quick background, I'm currently a product manager at Spotify. I work on personalization. And when I'm not doing that, I lead the Women in Product New York City chapter. We're over 1,700 women PMs right here in New York City, which is a crazy number. Woo! Prior to Spotify, I was at Squarespace, where I led our user-facing analytics product area. And prior to that, I was in San Francisco, where I'm originally from, at an early-stage startup called Automatic. So the common thread through all of those very different industries is that I was building data-driven products that delivered personalized experiences. So how many people use the Spotify homepage? Woo! That's what I work on. So I own the ranking of the Spotify homepage. It's personalized to all of our users, all of you, and all of our users all around the world. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So one of the reasons why I love working on personalization is it feels magical and it's deeply personal. So some quotes to illustrate that. Hey gang, ever need to know exactly who I am as a person? Just take a gander at my Spotify homepage. Or on the playlist level, I will marry the person who understands me as well as Spotify's Discover Weekly. So it's really fun when you're working on something like this, but it also can go terribly wrong. So the core problem that I want to talk about today is how do you figure out what 250 million people all around the world want to listen to at any given time? So I'm going to talk about the science first and then the art of personalization. So this is the content catalog that we're working with. We have over 50 million tracks on Spotify and over 500,000 podcasts, and we're always getting new ones on the platform. So how do we figure out, of all those tracks, of all those podcasts, like what do you want to listen to, what do you want to see on the homepage? And so one of our key differentiators is the fact that we have over 3 billion playlists, and the vast majority of those playlists are created by our users. So this is a really simplistic kind of representation of one of our machine learning models that goes into powering the Spotify homepage. And so using those 3 billion playlists, we get to similarities between tracks, between artists, between users. And so you can think of this as a 40-dimensional vector space. We live in 3D, or we experience the world in 3D, but imagine 40 dimensions. That's the level of complexity that we have to model someone's user taste, to model, for example, the fact that I listen to a lot of Rap Caviar. Sometimes I listen to Viva Latino, but I never, ever listen to 60s rock anthems. And so that's why my user vector is on the polar opposite end of 60s rock anthems. So we have these artists and tracks all in the same space, and we look at both users' listening history and all of their interactions, along with all the playlists that we have and artist metadata that we have. So that's just one of the models that goes into scoring all of our items, basically what ends up happening is every single item is scored specific to a user. And so this is just one of the shelves on the Spotify homepage for today's drive, and the scores that are personal to me, and basically the prediction of like how likely am I to stream something from this shelf. And then we simply just rank the order of the shelves according to the score. So that's kind of the science of personalization, or a little bit behind the scenes of that. My question to you is, if you're thinking about personalizing your products, just think about what is your data competitive advantage. I actually don't believe it's the machine learning part, even though that's like the magical, cool stuff. It's what kind of data do you have, what are your users doing in your product that is unique to your company that no other company might have? So on the art of personalization, so we have that ranked order of playlists of shelves, but how do we actually convince you that this is what you want to listen to? And so we have things like the shelf title. This is more of what you like, maybe something you're not familiar with. But what if I've never seen the playlist motivation mix? How do I decide that this is for me? One of the things that I like is we have an artist cloud underneath. And so maybe I listen to Daddy Yankee a lot. And maybe it's 6 p.m. right now. I tend to listen to workout playlists right now, and I tend to listen to Daddy Yankee in my workout playlists. And so this is all the visual cues that we kind of provide to help convince you, hey, like make that split-second decision to start streaming this. And so we call this body of work Rexplanations. So some of the things that I learned this year about Rexplanations, most importantly, is be descriptive. When you're dealing with machine learning outputs, it's really tempting to be like, hey, this could generalize to lots of different people, but you really never know what you're going to get out, especially when you're dealing with a big catalog or many different users. And don't overpromise. It's super tempting to be like, hey, we know this is your favorite artist. Daddy Yankee is like, you stream that a lot, but what if, for example, it's because my husband comes home at at night every day at 6 p.m. listens to Daddy Yankee on the Alexa, and it happens to be my Spotify account there. Like, we don't know for sure that this is something that you love, and so be descriptive as much as possible. So when things go wrong, this is a real tweet, and it's a real shelf on Spotify. Keep the Vibe Going has been a shelf for a really long time, but then a few months ago, we kept getting these tweets. And they were like, thanks, Spotify, for telling me, like, I actually did just go through a breakup, and you're just rubbing it in. And so, again, just try not to be too cute when you're trying to generalize across machine learning outputs. Another question I like to ask is, if you fail at personalization, what might have caused that? And so I think a lot about echo chambers, because recommender systems naturally will recommend something to you that you are likely to stream or likely to consume, and that's probably something that's familiar to you. So the things that we think about, 3 things that we think about to fight echo chambers and algorithmic bias. One is just diversity on your teams, right? If you have diverse perspectives, they're gonna challenge the assumptions that you're building into your models. 2, encourage discovery. Don't just give like the fast food, we know you love wrapped caviar, so only listen to this. And then 3 is inject randomness. And this is both good on the machine learning model side of like debiasing your data, but also provides some serendipity and interestingness to your recommendation. So actually one of the things that we do for the homepage is 2% of requests to the homepage get a completely random homepage. So that's totally shuffled playlists, totally shuffled shelves on your homepage. And so that both gives us really valuable training data that like every single item in our 50 million track catalog has an equal chance of making it onto all of your homepages, regardless of whether you like it or not. And it also kind of breaks out of that echo chambery cycle. So I'm going to leave you with this quote. Serendipity is when you find things you weren't looking for, because finding what you are looking for is so damn difficult. And so personalization feels magical when there's a little bit of serendipity mixed in. Thanks, everyone.